Alright, today we have another project, and this time the home AC compressor is not running. The indoor fan is running, the condenser fan is running, so I thought I'd just do a quick video here to, if you have this problem, then this is what you can do to check it out. So let's, you can see I got a bunch of wires here out, doing a little bit of diagnostics. So let's get to it and see what we find out. And remember, with any project, always have a good cup of coffee. It helps you do your thinking. This is not, I would say, is going to be an educational video because I have to get this thing back together, but I'll give you a quick overview of what to do here. First, you want to make sure that you have your incoming voltage. In this case, here's a contactor. Those two lugs there, put your voltmeter on it, you should have around 240 volts. Now, when you have your thermostat, say in this case we're calling for the cooling mode, then you should have 240 volts across here, 24 volts AC, that'll be across the coil to pull it in. So if you don't have your 24 volts AC, then you're going to backtrack and you're going to go back into your indoor unit and you're going to look at your control transformer, thermostat, and that kind of stuff, see what's going on. In my case, all of this here was good. Okay, next step. I found the compressor leads. In my case, we have a black, we have a red, and we have a yellow. The black lead is a common going down to the compressor. The red is the run winding, and this here yellow is for the start winding. Yellow is going to go through the capacitor. Now what you want to do is you take your ohm meter and you want to take each lead, put your ohm meter on there, and then you want to touch the ground. You should have OL. If you have one of these here that has a reading, then your compressor is short, then your windings is short of the ground. You want to do that with each one of these here windings. Next thing you want to do is you want to check between the, say, black and the red. The black, remember, is your common, the red is the run winding. Now, in my case, I had 1.6 ohms. Then you want to check between your black and your yellow lead. In this case right here, I had 2 ohms. Now, the common, which is this here, is common to both of these windings. So if you check between the red wire and the yellow wire, you should get the addition of those two resistances as far as the run winding and the start winding. And in my case, I got like 3.4 ohms. So everything looks fine with the compressor. So we got the voltage there, we got the windings look good. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to check the capacitor. Now I've already taken the capacitor out, which is right in here, so let's take a look at it and let me show you how to check it. Now typically the capacitors nowadays, they are built together. One of the capacitors is for the condenser fan motor, the other one is for the compressor. The one that has a higher capacity, in this case you see that is 40 microfarad, that's for the compressor. The one for the 5 microfarad, that is for the condenser fan. You can see here it's at 50-60 hertz, and it has an operating voltage of 440 volts AC. Now you might be wondering, why is it so high when we have 240 volts out here? Well, the reason is so this here capacitor will charge to the peak voltage, which is always higher than the RMS value of 240 volts. Now let's go and look at how about to check this thing. Now first let's take a look at the terminals here. You can see that we have 3 terminals. We have one is C, that is for common. Then we look over here, we have another one that's called fan. We look over here, we got another one for hermetic compressor. So that's where your compressor winding is going to go to. Alright, so now that we see that, the common, and let me find it again, the common is common to both of these here other terminals. So, if I go from common to fan, and check the capacity, I should have close to 5 microfarad. If I go from common to Herm, which is for the compressor, then I should have close to 40 microfarads. So let's go ahead and we'll do that now. Alright, first thing, I'm going to take my lead, I'm going to put onto the common terminal. Next, I'm going to go to the fan terminal. Now if you see on there, I got 4.66 microfarad. Now let's go from the common terminal to the Herm terminal. As you can see right there, I have 2.81 microfarad. Should be 40. And of course, like I said, on this one over here is 4.66. It should be close to 5. but it's still fine. It's in, should be plus or minus 5% tolerance on this. So we need a new capacitor. Okay, $13 later, let's check this here capacitor, 2 capacitors out. Common to fan, get out of the way. As you can see, it's 4.96, and for the compressor side, 39.4. Now, one other final check that I didn't mention is that you can check the resistance to each one of these terminals to the casing. So now I have it on resistance check now. We should not see any resistance at all to the casing. As you can see, all of it's OL. So let me put this here capacitor in. I'll catch you guys in the next shot when I get it done. Alright, the compressor started up fine. I'm checking the running amps on the compressor right now. It should be like 12.8. That's on a full load. Right now I'm getting like 5.01 amps, basically 5 amps. I noticed the lines out here, you know, it doesn't feel quite so cold. So I'm thinking that maybe what I need to do is I need to do put the gauges on here, and I need to check the pressures. Maybe a little bit low. Alright, I got the gauges hooked up, and I have the refrigerant up here. It's on the scale. It's R4TNA system. And also, we'll be going over it a little bit. I'll go a little bit into this, what we're going to do. It does look like it's a little bit undercharged. This here has a thermostatic expansion valve on the indoor unit, so I'm going to use a subcooling method on this. It should be, subcooling should be 5 to 7 degrees. I look like I've got about 1.5 degrees, so I'm a little bit low. So we're going to be putting a little bit of refrigerant in it. So let me show you what I got, what the setup is. Alright, here's the hookup of the gauges. This over here, that's a low pressure side. Here's a high pressure side. Down here we have a liquid to vapor riser here. On R410A, it has to be charged in an inverted state. It's got to be charged as a liquid. So this here is going to take this and it's going to turn it from a liquid to a vapor, so it's going to protect the compressor, because you do not want a liquid to come into the compressor. Okay, now let's go over, since I said we're going to be using a subcooling method on this because it's got a thermostatic expansion valve, you'll be looking at the high side. On the high side, you can see that we're running, it looks like around 200 and, I guess about 250. Yeah, 250 PSIG. And if you look on the pink scale, you can see that we're running, as far as the saturated temperature, looks like about 83. Yeah, about 83. Alright, so now we come down and we take a look. We have a digital thermometer. We have the thermistor, or the thermocouple rather. We have it hooked up on the liquid line, and we're going to be looking at that temperature, and we can see that the temperature on that one is 86.2. So we take this temperature and we subtract the difference, and you can see that it's not nowhere near the 5 to 7 degrees. So I'm going to be turning the refrigerant on just to give it quick shots. Even with the vaporizer here, you want to turn it on, turn it off, let it run. And you can see, coming in as a liquid state, it does not take much. So just that one quick burst there, that's a ½ ounce already. I want to weigh it just so for my benefit to see maybe if I have a leak here. I don't think, hopefully I don't anyway. So each time we do that, we'll let it run for a couple of minutes. So that's the procedure I'm going to be doing. So I'll get back with you guys later once this thing comes up a little bit. Now, one other thing I forgot to mention is I have another thermocouple, and it's attached over to the suction line. Now, when I first started, and this will be for the superheat, when I first started, the temperature difference between this and the saturated temperature over here was 30 degrees. So if you look right there, you can see we're running about 40, looks like about 46 degrees saturated temperature. And if we look down here,
you can see it's about 67, let's just say 68. So 48 minus, 68 minus 46. So you can see that it's coming down from what it was earlier, which was 30 degrees. Alright, it's been about 45 minutes now. Let's see where we're at. We're looking at superheat. This is a thermocouple that's attached over to the suction line. Now the temperature on that is, let's say 56 degrees. Let's take a look at our saturated temperature on the gauge. And that looks to be about 40, yep, about 46, and that's a 10 degree superheat setting. That looks good. Alright, now let's take a look at the saturated temperature here on the high side, and we are looking at 90 degrees. 90 degrees on that. Let's take a look over here. We have a temperature of 84, so that's going to be a difference of 6 degrees of subcooling, and I'm right in specs. Now let's see how much refrigerant we used. Took 3 pounds and, oops, got my hand on the tank. 3 pounds and 4 ounces. Now, another check you can do if you think your charge is low, and without putting the gauges on there, got a little yingy down here, go to your closest supply duct to your indoor handling unit and see what your temperature is. So here I am over here, and we're going to measure this here air temperature. Now you can see it's like 50, 59.2, 59, yeah, I say 50, let's just say it's 59 degrees. Now this is the air coming out of the supply duct, and get one of the vents that's closest to your air handling unit. Now let's go over to the return duct and let's measure the temperature of that air. I'm over at the return duct now, and I'm measuring the temperature over here. So it's 75, 76. So take the difference between these two temperatures. 76, 59 is what? 16 degrees? And you're looking like from 18 to 21. That's the spec they call for. So that's what your temperature drop should be across your evaporator coil. Now you could be a 1 or 2 degrees off, but if you got something that's way out and it's not within that 18 to 21 degree spec, then you might suspect that you might have a refrigerant that's low, you know. That's providing that your filter is not stopped up, your air handling unit is running, the blower is fine, you know, everything is running like it should be. Now one other thing I want to mention is that if you remember, I mentioned that the superheat setting in the beginning was 30 degrees. When you got a superheat setting that's high, then that means you're pretty much low on refrigerant. So to get it back down, which in this case they were looking for a superheat setting of from 7 to 9 degrees. I believe we had around 9. And your subcooling will never come down, or increase rather, until that superheat gets right. So once that superheat setting gets into spec, say around 9 degrees, then your subcooling will start to go up. And in that case, that's just want to bring that up to you also. Alright guys, that's going to wrap this one here up. Looks like, you know, this unit, it was installed in 2011, I believe it was. And the line set had to be increased, and I'm not sure if the guy put enough refrigerant in it. You know, he just may have left what was in it, because it never really felt like it had a good cold amount of air. I mean, it would cool, but, and you know, and it get the temperature down, but not down as close as what I like. Anyway, you saw how much we had to put in here. Hopefully we don't have a leak. If we do, we'll do a follow-up on it, and that's going to wrap this video up, and hope you enjoyed the video. You guys take care, and we'll see you in the next one.